My name is Taetro. I'm a music maker and a teacher. We're going to be diving in to help you understand the foundational elements of making beats. You'll learn not only how to play each of those core foundational elements of a beat, but we're also going to walk through step by step making your own beat in Ableton Live. You're going to see me using an Akai MPK Mini. This is a very popular MIDI keyboard, and I encourage you all at home to have at least a 25 key MIDI keyboard available to you. And if you've got 8 pads, that would be fantastic, but you can also use your regular QWERTY keyboard for pads lessons as well. Your first beat is just the first step in making your second beat, your 10th beat, and your 100th beat. So imagine how great your beat will sound after you've made 100 of them. We're going to set up from a completely blank canvas in Ableton Live, choose our tempo, and start on our sound selection. Depending on your version of Live, you'll have access to different instruments, but I believe we all have access to the simpler instruments, so I'm going to choose from there. There's 4 core parts. There's the drums, there's the chords, there's the bass, and there's the melody. I'm going to go ahead and just try to make a chill, lo-fi beat. I really like the sound of that genre. So I'm going to start in pianos and keys, and I'm going to choose just a single note instrument. I like this electric piano sound, so I'm going to click and drag this on our blank MIDI track, on track 1. That's going to be my chords instrument. Next, let me consider an instrument for melody. I'm going to search for mallets. That's a little too much. And that is also a little too much. Less is more when it comes to certain sounds. I found this mystic whistle sound. I think that's pretty good. I'm going to drop that on our second MIDI track. That's going to be our melody instrument. We need a bass. I want something very simple and quiet. Actually, I can make that work. Finally, it's time to choose some drums. I'm going to try to start with the Atom kit. And now we have a drum kit. I'm going to feel like a generally slow tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to build a couple different versions of a drum loop. Why don't we go ahead and record a basic beat with just kick and that rim sound. So just a simple kick and snare sound to start. I'm going to press record. Ready, go. Now, if I zoom in on this, I can see that I'm a bit off the grid. I'm not playing it completely perfectly. Quantize is a way to sort of automatically snap all of our notes to a grid. With our metronome playing, everything is syncing up quite nicely. Let's go ahead and duplicate this pattern and add layers on top of it. I'm going to click the clip here, and I'm going to either right click and go to duplicate, or as you can see, there's a command, a shortcut, Command D. Let's find another element to add on top. Maybe hi-hat. I like that little snare in this hi-hat pattern. Let's overdub this on top of this loop. Ready, go. I think that pattern's sounding pretty good. Now we're going to add chords. If you're looking to warm up or if you need some inspiration, there are plenty of lessons and courses on chords in the Melodics app. But if you're ready, let's jump into the DAW. Remember what we talked about with chords? We're going to be using triads today. So I think I'm going to start by playing a couple 7th chords. Just F to C, 2 chord progression. I'm going to hold each chord for 4 beats. Two simple effects there that you can play with chorus and reverb. And as you've probably noticed under audio effects, there's a lot more. Feel free to experiment. Basically, you have all of the chords and the tones available to you in this given key. So try different chords in different orders and different rhythms and see where it takes you. And now it's time to make a bass line. So find the octave that's low and robust that we can still hear. Let's instead grab this clip right here, the first chords clip that we created, and let's hold Alt or Options and drag it down here into the bass. I want to take the root note, the bottom note of each of these chords, and I want to only use that. And it'll match up perfectly with our chords. So I'm just going to select all the notes above the lowest note, and I'm going to delete them. I'm just selecting notes. You can click on them and press delete. You can click and drag and select a group and also press delete. Now, if I listen to this, it doesn't sound too much like a bass line, right? That's because it's in the wrong octave. It's too high. We can solve this by hitting Command A or Control A, selecting all these notes in our clip, holding Shift and pressing down on our keyboard. That brings all the notes down an octave. I think I'll go down one more octave. That's a nice bassy sound. So why don't we go ahead and actually just duplicate this, Command D, into the next 4 bars. But what's going to get confusing in our project is that this bass line is labeled chords. So let's actually Command R or Control R, rename this clip bass 1. And then we have another chord progression here. And for reference, I'm just going to take a look at our chords. We have A, E, and F. A, E, and F. I'm going to find those notes on my keyboard. And let's try to play something that's slightly more interesting than just one note at a time syncing up with the chords. We're going to record. Now I'm just playing a rhythmic pattern. And then I did play one note there that is not in those chords. This is considered like a leading tone. We're allowed to play notes that are outside of the chord if they have some contextual or rhythmic sense. Now we have 3 different ideas for how this bass line could be. We have a B section. We have a more active A section. We're going to be adding a melody onto this beat that we've been working on. All right, so I'm going to write a melody over the first 4 bars to start. 1, 2. Little variation. 1, 2, 3. Go up an octave 2. Sparse, then longer notes building, then this melody truly builds up to that higher octave, and at a certain point in your track you want the listener to feel really satisfied, like they have arrived at the main point. And a way of doing that is having some evolution throughout your track, and having your melody evolve is a great way to do that. We are going to be putting the final touches on our beat. So why don't we build a more sensible build-up structure? So I'd like to open my track with chords. So I'm going to drag that first loop over to bar 1. And then maybe, just maybe, drums could come in at bar 3. And I have this mellow section. Let's go to our B section chord progression here. We'll get that going. Our B section drums can go here. And let's actually duplicate this section and make it twice as long. And let's drop the drums out here. I'm kind of making a mellow bridge here. We're going to come back to our chord progression. And let's get that final bass line here. And now I'm building a simple outro. It's all about taking some of the ideas you've already crafted and figuring out, how can I repurpose these for other parts of the song? Let's add an effect to the drums. Auto filter, you'll probably recognize the sound. If I play from bar 9, if I filter out the drums, if I grab that little yellow dot and move it around, we're slowly taking away high frequencies and bringing them back in. It can be a great way to introduce a sound. I want this to fade in, right? So let's have it be fully faded in by bar 5. Again, we're paying attention to timing, and let's bring the first node down with a second node all the way at the top. That first hit is a little more audible. Just like that. So what I'm gonna do is create a new MIDI track. Let's go and find something bright. We already have. Let's add a piano here. Let's add some simple piano notes. So I've dragged the piano on there. So let me copy this melody And I'm going to add one final effect called delay. This is a really fun effect to play with. You can think of it like an echo, echo, echo. So hear all those? Maybe we don't have that go all the way down. Last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to adjust the grid to be by eighth notes, and then I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to have the drums drop out here to create a nice little dramatic moment. There are so many ways you can add complexity to your beats. But the simple process of adding some device automation, fleshing out your arrangement, and also adding some different layers and different parts that maybe double some of your previous parts, like doubling your melody on a different instrument, are a good way to add some finishing touches here on your first beat.